Hi, I'm Judy Ann, Fuentes. My video presentation is all about the problems of education system in the Philippines.
A lack of properly educated and motivated teaching staff members, and the most famous term coined is the brain drain. These have then placed the entire educational system of the nation in the spotlight. Is it, however, really a failed system, or are we just looking at it too negatively? Well, we must first take a look at the educational system on a macro level. First of all, the educational system is in fact the sector that actually receives the most national budget in the country. 2021, 4.5 trillion peso national government budget gave the Department of Education over 751 billion pesos, which is the highest, far more than the Department of Public Works and Highways and the Department of Health. This should then tell us that the government does indeed place a strong emphasis on the overall academic system of the country. Second, with relation to the budget itself, it has enabled over 3 million individuals to be enrolled in the higher education space every year. This then pushes us to believe that the Philippines was successful in ensuring proper infrastructure is in place to help 3 million people to have access to higher education. Finally, the Philippines enjoys a high literacy rate among its population, 96.5% for basic and 91.6% for functional. These data presented thus far should in some ways tell us already that the population of the Philippines has so far enjoyed a good education. That is, until we actually dive deeper into the data itself. While there are 3 million individual enrollees every year, there are in fact only between 600 to 700,000 people that successfully graduate at the same time. This means that there's a huge difference when it comes to a person enrolling for higher education and actually finishing it. How did it come to this? Well, several studies have found that it's more likely related to financial troubles, a lack of proper infrastructures for students to properly learn and excel, or just proper support for them to stay on track. Further, a report published by the World Bank has also found that 80% of children found that they do not know what they should learn in school. The report has even shown that only between 10 to 22% of students between selected grades have shown minimum proficiency. These data provided by the World Bank and other institutions can then tell us a pertaining issue. How is the Philippines spending so much money but not seeing strong results? Well, to be fair, this can be because, just maybe, even after spending more than 750 billion pesos, it might have been not enough. After all, we're looking to educate millions of people every year. This means that the government has to spend money to construct schools, pay some teachers and staff depending on whether it's private or public, and ensure that the schools built are up to date with the ever rapidly increasing change in world education, and so much more. While more factors vary, we just don't have enough to pay for a better education system. Should the government, however, decide to enlarge its budget further might be an issue. After all, it's already the largest sector, but placing too much will harm other departments. Anyway, what do you think?
Problems regarding the educational system. When it comes to influence, the educational system of the Philippines has been affected immensely by the country's colonial history, including Spanish period, American period, and Japanese rule and occupation, although having been significantly influenced by all its colonizers. The present Philippine educational system firstly covers 6 years of compulsory education from grades 1 to 6 divided informally into 2 levels, both composed of 3 years. The first level is known as the intermediate level. However, although the Philippine educational system has extensively been a model for other Southeast Asian countries, in recent years such as matter has no longer stood true. And such a system has been deteriorated. Such a fact is especially evident and true in the country's quality of education. First of which is the quality of education. In the year 2014, the National Achievements Test (NAT) and the National Career Assessment Examination (NC) results shows that there had been a decline in the quality of Philippine education at the elementary and secondary levels. NAT and NC were excessively below the target mean score. Having said this, the poor quality of the Philippine educational system is manifested in the comparison of completion rates between highly urbanized city of Metro Manila. Budget for education. The second issue that the Philippine educational system faces is the budget for education. Although it has been mandated by the Philippine Constitution for the government to allocate the highest proportion of its government to education, the Philippines remains to have one of the lowest budget. Affordability of education. The third prevalent issue in the Philippine educational system continuously encounter is the affordability of education or lack thereof. A big disparity in education achievements is evident across various social groups. Socioeconomically disadvantaged students, otherwise known as the students who are members of high and low-income poverty-stricken families, have immensely higher dropout rates in the elementary level. Dropout rate out of school youth. Franz Castro, Secretary of Alliance of Concerned Teachers Act, stated that there is a grave need to address the alarming number of out-of-school youth. In the country, the Philippines overall has 1.4 million children who are out of school, according to UNESCO's data, and is additionally the only ASEAN country that is included in the top 5 countries with the highest number of out-of-school youth. In 2012, the Department of Education showed data of a 6.37 dropout rate in primary school and a 7.82% dropout rate in secondary school. Mismatch. There is a large mismatch between educational training and actual jobs. This stands to be a major issue at the tertiary level, and it is furthermore the cause of the continuation of a substantial amount of educated yet unemployed or underemployed people. According to Dean Salvador Balarower, the Cornell-educated congressman representing one and at Occasion party list on the House of Representatives, the number of educated unemployed reaches around 600,000 per year. He refers to said condition as the education gap. Brain drain. Brain drain is a persistent problem evident in the educational system of the Philippines due to the modern phenomenon of globalization, with the number of overseas Filipino workers who worked abroad at any time during the period April to September 2014 was estimated at 2.3 million. This ongoing mass emigration subsequently inducts unparalleled brain drain alongside grave economic implications. Additionally, Philippine society hitherto is footing the bill for the education of millions who successively spend their more productive years abroad. Social divide. There exists a problematic and distinct social cleavage with regard to educational opportunities. In the country, most modern societies have encountered equalizing effect on the subject of education. This aforementioned divide in the social system has made education become part of an institutional mechanism that creates a division between the poor and rich. Lack of facilities and teacher shortage in public schools. There are large-scale shortage of facilities across Philippine public schools. These include classroom, teachers, desk and chairs, textbooks, and audio-video materials, according to 2003 Department of Education Undersecretary Juan Miguel Luz. Reportedly, over 17 million students are enrolled in the Philippine public school, and at an annual population growth rate of 2.3%, about 1.7 million babies are born every year, which means that in a few years' time, more individuals will assert ownership over their share of the limited educational provision. To sum it up, there are too many students and little resources, albeit the claims the government makes on increasing the allocated budget for education. There is a prevalent difficulty the public system faces with regard to shortage.
So here are the solutions to the problem in the Philippine education. First is supporting to K-12. Judy Ann has been a known advocate of Department of Education's DepEd K-12 program, despite many people have voiced out their opposition on the education reform. The positive effect outweighs the negative short-term aspects of the K-12 program. The additional 2 years in school is really an investment to the future kids, he said in an interview by Rappler. The lawmaker noted the Philippines is among only 3 countries in the world that follow the 10-year basic education cycle. He also mentioned that one of the highlights of the program is the free technical education. education program which will enable high school students to easily find job after graduation. The second is giving free college education. A more accessible education will generate more educated citizens who will in turn form a more competitive labor force. This is why Judy Ann authored House Bill number 5095 of the Free Higher Education Act, which seeks to make tuition fee free in all state universities and colleges. And the third is building more public math and science schools. Building more public math and science schools all over the country is also one of the key initiatives pushed by the 1st District Representative of Valenzuela City. Judy Ann is the primary author of HB 4801 or Equitable Access to Math and Science Education Act, which supports the establishments of math and science high school nationwide. The legislator explained such move will allow bright and talented students in the far-flung areas of the country to pursue their talents in these fields of endeavor. And the fourth is instituting a national feeding program. Judy Ann hopes to establish a nationwide feeding program in elementary schools and legislating HB 5348 or the No.3 Escuela Act of 2015. He wants every locality in the country to experience benefit of the K-6 in-school feeding program, which he successfully implemented in Valenzuela City. And the fifth is higher teachers' salary. With more salary comes a more motivated and active teacher. This is what Judy Ann thinks in wanting to increase teacher salaries from 18,549 pesos to 31,000 pesos in his legislating HB 5731. And the sixth one is continuous teacher education. It is not just additional salary that he wants teachers to receive, but also additional knowledge. Judy Ann has been proposing the need to regularly train practicing private and public elementary teachers in his HB 4785 for the Continuing Education Act. And the seventh one is pushing for alternative education. In his pursuit of more competitive education, Judy Ann does not want to leave behind out of school youth, members of cultural minorities, indigenous people, and persons with disabilities or PWDs. And the last one is reviving mandatory ROTC. Judy Ann also thinks that we need more discipline and nationalistic graduates. This is the reason why he is pushing for the revival of 2-year mandatory Reserve Officers Training Corps or ROTC program in his HB 2338 Team Alcantara.
There are hundreds of societal problems in the Philippines that can be solved simply by tweaking the education system a bit.
Okay lang po.
Complicated.
Disappointing.
Incompetent.
Globally aligned.
Glamorized. Incompetent. Poisonous.
Apathetic.
Kaya naman maraming estudyante ng mga kasalan at guro ang
Our country's educational sector has borne the brunt of the pandemic. But even before COVID started to make headlines around the world, the country's education sector was already rife with problems. Most of these stem from the lack of support from the government. Public schools here in the Philippines are underfunded, so there are problems with the shortage of equipment, classrooms, facilities, and especially the minimum compensation to teachers. The pandemic even exposed the system's flaws, like the cry of the masses for a ligtas na balik eskwela was shunned because congested classrooms make it impossible to happen. Aside from this, the shortage of skilled teachers is due to brain drain, where many go overseas to seek greener pastures because opportunities here in our country are scarce. Apart from this, schooling continues to employ old-fashioned methods like rote learning, with less emphasis on critical thinking abilities, soft skills, and art.